Bring yourself to your mat and stand long ways, feet hip width apart and parallel. Let's begin with a roll down. Take an inhale at the top and breathe out as you bring your chin to your chest and let yourself fold forwards. It's okay for your knees to bend, especially on this first one. You'll probably feel a bit stiff, rolling all the way down to where it feels comfortable, and then bringing yourself all the way back up again. Let's take our arms up to the ceiling. Inhale at the top. Exhale, circle around and down. Let's do that again. Breathe in and chin to chest and roll down towards the floor. I'm going to try a little bit harder this time to keep my legs straight so I can see what I've got on the second run through. And then rolling all the way back up. Both arms are going to go up to the ceiling. And then I'm going to circle it around and down, clasping my hands behind me and pulling back for a pec stretch. And then arms back by my sides, chin to chest again, and a roll down. Sit bones feeling wide at the back to help you fold forwards. Tailbone tucking under to help bring you back up. Both arms are going to go up to the ceiling. Grab hold of your left wrist and lift it a little bit higher so that you can side bend over. Bring yourself back to the center and switch the grip. Lift the right side up higher and create a small side bend. Coming back up and circling around and down. Bring your chin to your chest again. Exhale as you roll down. Make it feel like everything falls out of the top of your head. Let's bend our knees and tuck our tailbone under. And then push the legs straight. Bend the knees and soften, tuck your tailbone under. Push the feet down into the mat to send the sit bones up. The legs go straight again. Bend your knees and soften. Push down into the floor to send your sit bones to the ceiling. Fold in more if you feel you can. Bend your knees and soften. This is the last one. And then push the legs straight and we roll all the way back up to standing. Both arms go up to the ceiling. We circle around, clasp the hands behind. Hold this time. Take 2 deep breaths here. Here's your last one. And then let your arms release. This time when you roll down, you're going to come all the way down onto the mat into 4-point kneeling. So bending the knees and bringing yourself to the floor. Wrists underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. And we're going to begin with a cat stretch. So let's tuck the tailbone underneath, tuck the head in, round your spine. Hold the shape long enough to feel some change happen. And then let yourself come back to flat back. And then a cat stretch again. Exhaling back down into flat back. So I'm inhaling into the fullness of my cat stretch. And then letting the exhale bring me back down into flat back. Let's do that 2 more times. And then flat back. on this one, when you make your cat stretch, you're going to hold it there. And we're going to increase the stretch by bringing our hips up and back over our heels into angry cat. My arms are still straight. My hands are still pushing. I roll my pelvis through into flat back, all the way back here. And then I track forwards, back into 4-point kneeling. And again, so I've got my cat stretch, my angry cat, my pelvic roll back into flat back, and then I track forwards. Let's do that 2 more times. Cat stretch, angry cat, roll the pelvis, and then return. Last one like this. And then we're going to let one of our legs join in. So when you come back into 4-point kneeling on this one, you're going to take your leg out behind you and around to the side. It doesn't matter which leg because we're going to do both. Start by hinging forwards and backwards, just to get a little bit of looseness in the hip socket. And then from there, we're going to add in the cat stretch, angry cat, pelvic roll, and then a return. We'll do that again. Cat stretch, angry cat, pelvic roll, and then return. One more like this. And then you're going to bring that leg back around behind you, pull it back in underneath you, and then switch the legs out to the side, foot flat. Start off by hinging backwards and forwards. Giving your body enough time to consider a change. So each of the repetitions, giving yourself time in each bit of shape. Okay, so now we're going to add in our cat and our angry cat and our pelvic roll and a return. Cat stretch, angry cat, pelvic roll, return. 2 more. Here's your last one. And then from here, you're going to bring the leg around, back in underneath you, and we're going to go into thread the needle. So one of the arms is going to come across the mat, and maybe your shoulder will come all the way down to the mat if that's what your body feels happy with. It doesn't have to. You can keep your body quite high up if need be. Come back and then go the other way. So you're crossing. And then coming back up. One more on each side. And back. Last one. And then back up, sitting back into a shell stretch or a child's pose. Just for a moment, I've got my knees wide so it feels like my body fits in the gap. And then coming out of that and turning myself around so that I'm sitting in the middle of the mat. My feet are flat and parallel. My hands are on the outsides of the knees. And now I'm going to roll back through my pelvis until my arms go straight. So I'm not going to go any further than that. Tilt my pelvis behind me towards the floor, and my arms tell me when to stop. So we need the top half of our body rounding forwards as the lower part of our body tilts back. We're forming a C curve. Using the arms as a marker to help us find that. Okay, and now we're going to see if we can intensify the feeling. So we're still restricting our movement and how far we can go. We've got a pelvic tilt in place. And now you're going to intensify your pelvic tilt without losing your arm anchor. See if I can speak. And then rolling all the way back up. And then repeating the back of the pelvis, rolling down to the mat. Draw your abdominals in and up. And then all the way through back to seated. We're going to go a little bit further this time by moving the anchor. So it's going to move away from the knee, halfway down your thigh. The shape still stays the same. And then you roll all the way back up. Let's do that again. Tailbone under. The anchor moves halfway down the thigh. Roll through your spine and you're all the way back up. Make sure that you have enough space behind you because in a moment we're going to go all the way down to the mat. Let's have two more like this, coming to that midway anchor point. And on this last one, we're going to keep going all the way down until you meet the mat, and then you're going to lay yourself out flat. Finding the midpoint of your mat so that your head has got a little bit of cushioning, arms by your sides, knees bent, and feet underneath your knee joints as best as you can. Okay, knee floats. One leg up to tabletop, and then you'll bring it back down. Other leg up, and then bring it back down. And we're going to create a little bit of resistance with our hands against the approach of our leg. So as you try to pick your leg up, I want you to push it slightly with the hand so that you have to work through the resistance of that. And see if you can get a sense that the pull could come from your core rather than from your leg. So it feels very much like I'm pulling my leg up from my center. The foot that's left on the floor pushes the back of your pelvis stable. So we've got this foot to pelvis connection. Let's have a couple more, and then we're going to end up with both legs up in tabletop. So that'll be this one held up, and then the other one coming to meet it. If you need to fidget about to get a more comfortable position, go ahead and do so. when you're ready, we're going to toe tap. So you can keep your hands in position to help you find your core, or you can bring them right down onto the mat if that feels better. The back edge of your pelvis should feel secure on the floor. So I'm going to call that your belt edge, and that's the edge of your pelvis where a belt would sit if you had a belted pair of trousers on. So that belt edge should be pressing into the ground. It doesn't mean your low back has to come right down and squash the ground with the same amount of pressure. So we've got the belt edge doing the majority of the pressure, and then the abs to spine to floor sensation, maybe about half. So I'm not squashing my back into the floor. I'm drawing my abdominals, my spine, and my spine a little bit towards the floor, but I'm not leaning heavy on it. I'm leaning on the back of my pelvis. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Let's have 4 more. And 2. And 1. So both legs are up and they stay there. You're going to grab them, pull them in for a stretch. And this is a stretch for your low back. So you're going to let your tailbone rise. It feels like your low back rounds away from the floor a little bit. Hold on to one of your legs and let the other one come down onto the floor so that it's flat. Let's take a moment in that to feel the stretch. And then we're going to straighten the other leg to the ceiling, up and down a few times. And on this one, it'll go up and it will hold. Okay, we're going to do one leg circles. If you need to do it with a bent knee, that's completely fine. Otherwise, leg up in the air, and then we're going to circle around and return back to that starting point. Circle round, exhale up. Inhale round and down, exhale up. Couple more. Change direction. Circle away, exhale up. Circle away, exhale up. If your knee was bent, it would look like this. Circle away, exhale up. Circle away, exhale up. Here's your last one. Circle away, exhale up. Pull the knee into your chest for a second time. And then we switch the legs around. So we've got a stretch first of all. You can pull in for a stretch. And then we've got bend and straighten up to the ceiling to try and prepare your leg for what's to come. 2 more. And then the leg goes up and it holds in straightness. And then we circle round, exhale up. Two more. Change direction. Two more. Last one. And then bend your knee in for that second stretch. The other leg is going to pull in as well. And then we're going to bring ourselves back into tabletop and put your hands behind your head and lift your head and shoulders up off the ground. Okay, to get a good head lift, we need the rib cage to push down into the floor. So see if you can get that feeling. The lowest 4 ribs pushing down into the ground to hold your head up. And now we do a single leg stretch to the ceiling, a simple beginner level version of this exercise. So we've got tabletop and then straightening. tabletop, and then straightening. The back of the rib cage pushing down to hold your head up. 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. We're going to go straight into double leg stretch, which will be both legs go up, both legs come down. And again, a beginner level version of this exercise. Little building blocks to get us where we want to go. Every time your leg straightens, push the back of your rib cage into the floor. Two more. We're deliberately powering on through to get to a little bit of aching and a bit of fatigue. So we've got one more set. Both legs go up, and now we do a version of scissors. That is a small scissor split. Right, let's work on the straightness of the legs and the pointing of the feet. And see if you can still find your rib cage pushing your head up. And 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Bend both knees in. Give yourself a hug as your head comes down. And then slide everything out long and stretch yourself out. And then you're going to lean to the side and push yourself up to seated. And we're going to sit in a wide leg stance for the saw. So we can have our arms out to the sides. We're going to rotate so that we're facing one of the legs. The arms are going to continue on their journey so that they end up reaching over the leg and out behind you. And then we fold forwards. You come back up. You bring your arms back into T arms, and then you twist the other way. So we're rotating around until our body faces over the leg. The arms continue on their journey. And then we reach and stretch forwards. 3, 2, 1. And we come back up and across. Rotate and reach. Breathe out. 3 and 2 and 1. Inhale as you travel. Exhale as you reach. And 2 and 1. And back up. Twist and fold. And back up. This is your last one. 3 and 2 and 1. And then all the way back up. You'll let your arms come down and your legs come together. And then you're going to spin yourself around so that you can lie down on your front. Hands flat on the mat, just to the sides of your shoulders. Legs long out behind you and close together. Press the pelvis down into the floor to lift your chest up. And then you'll lower yourself back down. If you need a wider hand positioning, that is fine. If it needs to be slightly further forward, that is also okay. Pelvis presses into the floor to lift your low back up into the skin. And then that is what lifts your head and chest up, and then lower back down. Minimal hands in the floor. So you're going to be pushing your pelvis into the floor. It's going to lift your low tummy and your low back up. And that's going to lift your head and shoulders up. And then lowering all the way back down. Let's have a couple more. And lowering. And it doesn't matter how high you go. We're just trying to get that pattern correct where the pelvis leads. It pushes into the floor. It pushes the low back bones up into the skin. The abdominals follow. And then the rest of your torso follows. So there's hardly any hand pushing at all. You could take them away and you shouldn't drop too much. Last one. All the way up to wherever you're going. And then lower yourself all the way back down. Pushing back into a child's pose, widening the knees so that you can fit in the gap. And then you'll turn yourself around, lay down on your back for a shoulder bridge. Knees bent, feet flat, pelvis level, arms by your sides. And then when you're ready, a pelvic tilt and a foot push to lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And then uncurl slowly, slowly, all the way back down. All the way up. And then all the way back down. Inhaling as you rise. Exhaling as you lower. The feet push the inner thighs up the legs towards the pelvis to bring the legs parallel. Uncurl all the way back down. Big toes press the ground, heels press the ground, inner thighs lift. Lower all the way back down. Here's your last one. All the way up. All the way down. And then let's have another back stretch so you can pull your knees into your chest. And if it feels good, you can also lift your head just a little bit. Let your legs uncurl and roll onto your side. And you can either have your arm long underneath you, or you can prop your head up, whichever feels best for your own body. Line everything up so it feels like your head is in line with your heart, is in line with your hips, is in line with your heels. Where do I feel like I want to be today? I think I want to be down here. So wherever you want to be is fine. The hand that's in front of you pushes down into the mat. And now we're just going to open and close the knees. The feet are hovering off the floor. If I want my knee to go higher, I have to push the side of my pelvis down into the ground. Get myself lined up so that I get the best out of that. So as I prepare to lift the knee, I push the side of my hip into the ground to create lift. We've got two more. Last one. And then you'll let your legs come back together. And we're just going to do a simple swing to the other side. So you'll lift yourself up, swing your legs around, lay yourself down. Find the head position you're happy with. Bring the heels into place. And then oystering on the other side. Taking a moment to fidget if you need to. Lots of fidgeting on this side. Okay, I've got my heels up or my feet up off the ground. And my heels together. Pushing the side of my pelvis into the ground to lift my knee up. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't rock backwards. Got two more. Here's your last one. And then you'll let your knees close and everything come down to the floor. To get ourselves up into position for mermaid, you're going to draw your knees in towards yourself and push yourself up, and then maybe center in the middle of your mat again. It's an awkward position on purpose. We wrap our hand around the outside edge of both of our ankles. So we've got one leg on top of the other. And then we lift the arm up to the ceiling and side bend over. If this awkward sitting position is not working for you, you can sit up on a sofa chair or something instead. We side bend the other way. And then we come back up and side bend over. And back down. And back up. And back down. To get the most out of the shape, when you arrive into this side, breathe in. And here's your last set. So we're over here on the floor. And then we're all the way back up. And we've got a side bend here. And then you'll come back up to the center. Place your hands on the floor. Bring your legs around in front and center yourself. And then you're going to bring the soles of your feet together and stretch your inner thighs out. I like to rock from side to side for the first few, just to get a sense of, right, where am I? Where's my pelvis? What does that feel like? Where do I want to put my feet? And then once I've settled, I start to hold myself more still and maybe start to creep forwards into a bend over the top of the legs. Whatever is happening with your own legs is fine. You don't have to fold forwards. Just find the stretch that works for you. And then you're going to come out of that. Take your legs out in front of you. Give them a little shake. And then over to the other side. So you've got your hand wrapped around both the ankles. Your other arm up to the ceiling. And the side bend over. All the way back up. All the way over. Coming back up. And then down. Back up. And back down. 2 more of these. Here's your last one. We go from here. Coming out of this, bringing your hands to the mat and pivoting so that you're now in this long kind of 4-point kneeling stance so that you can lean your hips down and forward into a half plank. Okay, so you can hold that for a moment and just get a judge on what that feels like for you. If that feels too difficult, you're going to bring yourself back into actual 4-point kneeling. Okay, so that's your choices. The actual 4-point kneeling is easier, this longer stance with your hips forward, it's going to feel harder. We're going to add in a few push-ups to finish. They don't have to be big. They can just be small elbow bends where you just load through your arms a little bit and then straighten. If you want to work harder, lower yourself closer to the mat. 4 and 3 and 2. Last one. And then sitting up and back into that wide-kneed child's pose so that you can fit in the gap. You're going to walk your hands over to one side for a side stretch. And then bring it back to the center and walk over to the other side. Let's do 2 more like that, one each side. And over to that final side. Okay, coming back to the center now. You're going to curl your toes under. We're going to stretch out the soles of your feet. Going to ease some of your body weight back onto that. And then just hold and breathe. And then when you're ready, you'll start to walk your hands back towards your knees and push yourself onto your feet. When you feel ready, push down with your feet to straighten your legs. I'm now in a forward bend again. And then I'm going to roll all the way back up to standing to the middle of your mat. Feet hip width apart, parallel, facing forwards. Lean onto your toes and press down to push yourself up into high heels. Then both your arms are going to come up to the ceiling. Hold your balance. Arms down, heels down, shoulder roll, and an arm shake to finish. Well done, everybody. Good to see you. See you next time. Bye.